Alright, we're under the car now. So at the point, we need to disconnect the bolts that hold the torque tube assembly to the bell housing. Let's see, what are these? It's a 13 millimeter socket for these bolts. So the three bottom ones pretty easy to get to. The three on top, at least, let's see here. Maybe just two on top, maybe 5 total. We'll see. I may have to lower the cradle to see if I can get an angle on those. I have to work with it a bit. I'll let you know how I get to those, but that's what we're working on next. Okay, we're ready to take out the bolts that hold the rear cradle to the frame. So there's a bolt here. Go over to the other side. There's the bolt there, and then obviously there's two on the other side. I also have floor jack in place. I've got enough upward tension on the floor jack to support the weight of the cradle, so that when I take the bolts out, it doesn't begin to lower immediately. So that's what I'm going to start working on, and we'll keep moving. Okay, so as you can see, I left the nuts on, just a couple of threads. The cradle's already started to drop a little bit in the front. So see if I can set you up so you can watch. I'm going to lower this very slowly, and I left the nuts on there just a little bit just to make sure things come down in a controlled fashion. That way if I need to stop or readjust anything with my jack, I can still do so. But the goal is I'll lower this enough that I can get an angle on the torque tube. There's a wiring harness that runs along the top that we'll need to move off the torque tube before we drop it all the way. And then once we drop this enough, then we'll be able to slide it backwards and get let the input shaft clear, the clutch and the bell housing and that sort of thing. So you can watch me work for a little bit. There's a wiring harness connector on top of the differential, and there's a sensor there on the side of the transmission that has to be unplugged. On this side, there's a vibration damper. This thing here that interferes with the brake line. Had to be very careful as I lowered it. Had to make sure it got around that. There's another sensor there that has to be disconnected. So I'm going to spend a little time making sure I got everything disconnected before I pull it backwards out of the transmission, out of the bell housing. Alright, there it is. Got the torque tube, transmission, differential, rear suspension cradle out. Got some cleaning to do, but it's out. That was a beast of a job. Got these little roller dollies from Harbor Freight. Should make it a little bit easier to move around.